Hello, this is Mike Kroger, Finale Inventory. In this quick video, we're going to talk about doing stock takes with the mobile barcode scanner and using Finale Data Collector. Going to introduce a few maybe different topics or clarities in taking stock takes. The handheld scanner supports two modes of doing stock takes. One we refer to as basic, or kind of just like a cycle count. Another way that we would refer to it is maybe doing an audit, or where you can write zeros. So depending on the settings that you set in the scanner, you can actually conduct a stock take in two different ways. So I'll cover this in a little bit more in detail individually in separate videos. So I'll go through how to handle a basic cycle count and how to handle an audit type of write zeros in another video in detail. But to kind of give you an overview of the differences, let's take a look at stock, the home screen here in Finale, and this will kind of give you a better understanding. When we say cycle count, it's basically where you would go into a location and you're basically only auditing what you scan. So in other words, if you take a look here on the screen, we have these black PVC cards, okay, and there is physically on hand 4 of them. But notice that they're in 2 different locations. So they're in A5 and in A9. So there's 2 in A5, 2 in A9. So when we say a cycle count, stock takes are relative to the sublocation or the stock location when you're doing your counting. So if I go into the warehouse and I find this location A05 and I scan the barcode for this black PVC card, it's only auditing at this A5 location only. It's not also auditing A9. So everything is relative to the stock location or the sub-location where it's being stored. So when we go do the cycle count, we would be scanning A05 as a sub-location. Then we would be scanning the black PVC cards that we find in that location. So we should only find 2. Now, if we conclude our stock take and we only counted the 2 items at A05, then that would be the end of the stock take. Now, if there happened to be something else in that location, a cycle count mode would not reset that value of something else in that location. So for instance, if there happened to be red cards in the very same location A05, okay, if there happen to be red ones, but if you also notice there are all, but that's a kind of a bad example. So let's look at white. There happens to be white. So when you look right here in the stock here, we're looking at 2 white cards are actually located in A5. So if we were to look at A5, A5 has both 2 black cards and 2 white cards in it. So the definition of a cycle count is going to basically be it's related specifically to a part number and to a specific sublocation. So in our example, we go to A5 and we only scan in that cycle count only the black ones. When we upload that transaction, if we scan 2 black cards and that's all, it's going to update and confirm that there was only 2 black in A5. It will not say anything about the 2 white ones. So we did not audit the white ones if we don't scan them. So cycle counts are very specific to what you scan in that location. If you don't scan it, then you didn't stock take it, or you did not audit that particular part. All right, so that's the definition of kind of a cycle count. Now, if we were doing an audit, which means we're going to write zeros. What does that mean? So it's a specific mode that we can put that stock take and the scanner into. And if we say that we want it to be an audit type or write zeros, then in that case, if we were to go into this location A5 and we scan the black cards and we count 2 of them and we stop right there and we have the right 0 setting turned on, then in that case, if we close out, it will actually, since we did not scan the white cards, it will set these 2 to 0 because we didn't scan them, because we're in audit mode and we wanted to go into that location and only scan what we found. And if we didn't find anything else, we want the entire system to think that there's nothing else in that location. So it goes under the premise that you can't scan something that you don't find. Therefore, you'd want the system to be reset or written to 0 in that location for the other products that you did not scan. So hopefully that kind of gives you an idea of what that means in the 2 different terminologies, kind of a cycle count or the right 0 type of audit. And we'll show you this in more detail with a live scan. But to show you kind of the difference in how you access or how you turn these features on and off, I'm going to bring up the scanner here. So in the scanner, we have the main menu. So from the main menu, you can take and go to the settings. And in the settings, it's going to be where you can set the way or the behavior of the stock take. So I'm going to go into settings. Now we're looking for a setting that begins with TAK, which means it's particular to the stock take function. So I'm going to go down to more until I start to see TAK. So this TAK setting number 17, 18, and 19, they all are pertaining to how the scanner functions with stock takes. So notice that we have a default unit of each because we do support cases, but also there's a type quantity equal yes. Now type quantity equal yes, that means that the quantity box is going to be turned on and waiting for us to turn it on to type in a stock quantity. Okay, so if we wanted to make that no, which means, hey, if we say no, type quantity, then the scanner is going to assume that every time you scan something, that means 1. And it doesn't even ask you to type a quantity. But if you're counting inventory where there may be multiples of it, and you don't want to have to scan each one, so there may be 100 there, 1,000, or 500, you don't have to scan a barcode that many times, well then you change this property to yes. Okay, now you won't have to scan it that many times, you can actually type in the quantity. But here's where we're talking about right zeros. So by default this function is set to no, which means you're just in a plain old cycle count. But if you want to do a total and complete audit where it will write zeros to anything you do not scan, all right, you will click on this setting and change it to yes. Now you've actually changed the way that the stock take behaves, and it's more in a write zeros mode, which means it's an audit mode. Okay, so all you have to do to apply the change is just say done, and now when you take your stock take, you're in the right 0 mode versus the other way. So go look at the other videos and we'll go into more details and how to do each one in specifically.